Good morning, everyone. We are now already on the Module 3, Lesson 3, the Filibusterismo, History and its Context. But before we proceed to our proper discussion, let's just have first our objectives in order for us to be guided as we go on to our discussion. Our objectives: at the end of the lesson, you are expected to, first, trace meaning of the filibuster across time. Second, explain the historical context in which El Filibusterismo was written. Third, examine current events through the eyes of the characters. And the last one, evaluate Rizal as a novelist. El Filibusterismo means the reign of greed. As we all know, El Filibusterismo is the sequel of the Noli Me Tangere. Rizal started writing the El Filibusterismo after he returned to the Europe. The novel, therefore, was written amidst the threats and oppression he and his family were experiencing due to the incident in Noli and Calamba. Rizal continued working on his novel and made some revisions while he was in London in 1888. And Rizal completed the El Filibusterismo after 3 years in France on March 29, 1891. So imagine, it took years before he completed El Filibusterismo. And by that, we can really say that it really requires your passion and inspiration in order for you to write and publish a book. Aside from your passion and inspiration, one of the challenges in order to publish your book is to have enough money. Rizal struggled financially, for it took 1 month before he published his novel with the help of Valentin Ventura. Valentin Ventura was a reformist during the revolutionary period. He was the one who financed the publication of Jose Rizal's El Filibusterismo. In 1890, Wenceslao Ritana wrote about the filibuster and described the term as the one who cater for the independence of the country. It resorts to various extra-legal proceedings in order to reach the objectives that pursues by the end of the 19th century. Wenceslao Ritana became the ideological opponent of the writers of the La Solidaridad. After Rizal's execution, Ritana experienced a conversion and wrote the first published biography of Rizal to show that Spain had committed a gross error by executing him. Spanish colonial government defined filibuster as someone who works for the separation of overseas provinces. With this definition, one will have an idea about the plot of Rizal's second novel. It deals with subversion. It pictures the lives of people under an oppressive regime. It narrates the struggles of every Filipino in fighting for independence.
To continue, El Fili is dedicated to Gomburza. So if we can recall, Gomburza is the acronym for the 3 Filipino martyred Catholic priests, namely Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, who led the secularization of Filipino priests. These 3 priests were accused of being filibusters in 1872. So, the 3 priests inspired the Ilustrado movement, and Jose Rizal paid tribute to them in his second novel, which is El Filibusterismo. As you can see, this is the translated copy of Rizal's dedication to the secular priest. So below is the list of the ages and the date of death of the 3 priests. To the memory of the priest, Don Mariano Gomez, 85 years old, Don Jose Burgos, 30 years old, and Don Jacinto Zamora, 35 years old. Defending the memory of the priests, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora, Rizal wrote a dedication that clearly expressed his high regard for the priests who became victims of the evil that I am trying to fight. The Church, in refusing to degrade you, best placed in doubt the crime imputed to you. The government, enshrouding your cause with mystery and obscurities. creates belief in some error committed in critical moments, and the whole Philippines, in venerating your memory and calling you martyrs, in no way acknowledges your guilt. As long therefore as your participation in the Cavite uprising is not clearly shown, whether or not you were patriots, whether or not you nourished sentiments of justice and liberty, I have the right to dedicate my work to you, as the victims of the evil that I am trying to fight. And while we wait for Spain to reinstate you and make herself jointly culpable for your death, let these pages serve as a belated wreath of dried leaves laid on your unknown graves. And may your blood be upon the hands of those who, without sufficient proof, assail your memory. Rizal derives the reason to dedicate the work to them from the fact that Church did not excommunicate the three priests, and that there were serious mistakes in the surreptitious trial which irresponsibly led to his death sentence. And as victims of such circumstances, to the opposition which involved his lifetime work. Unfortunately, Rizal made some errors in listing the ages and date of death. So, Padre Gomez was really 72 years old, Padre Burgos was 35, and Padre Zamora was 37, in which they were publicly executed by garrote on the early morning of February 17, 1872.
And for the synopsis, Juan Crisostomo Ibarra has changed his name to Simon, a wealthy jeweler. He traverses the world in disguise, gathering wealth that he plans to use to overthrow the Philippines' corrupt and cruel leadership. Simon's true motivation, though it is personal, he wants to save Maria Clara from the convent and avenge his father's death. Simon then carried out his two plans, neither of which succeeded, prompting him to poison himself while seeking refuge with a Filipino priest, Padre Florentino, who was informed of Simon's true identity and revenge plan. After Simon's death, his jewels were thrown away by Padre Florentino, removing the potential of greed, violence, and other evils. Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you've learned something.